Good Tuesday morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by the Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Joe Everett. Well, harvest season is in full swing around our farm. Over the past week, I saw a lot of farmers get started, and we were able to get started over the weekend. Corn was a lot drier than we expected, so I look for harvest progress to make great strides over the next week. Looking at the calendar, powered by soy biodiesel, we'll be broadcasting at the Holman tent located at 611 Swine Avenue at the Farm Science Review grounds today. Stop out and see us. Then we'll be at the Farm Science Review Wednesday thanks to Morton Buildings. Stop out and see Morton Buildings at 516 Land Avenue on the Farm Science Review grounds. Then make plans now to visit Ashland County Fair September 15th through the 21st. Sponsors for Friday's remote broadcast at the fair are Wellington Implements and Centera Co-op. Visit ashlandcountyfair.com for a full schedule. Then results are in of a first-of-its-kind survey about farm stress in Ohio. Get a preview of the results of the Ohio Agricultural Mental Health Alliance's Farm Stress Survey, including what is stressing farmers out and how they maintain their mental health wellness, Thursday from the Farm Science Review. Now let's take a look at some of your agricultural news headlines. While the 2024 Farm Bill has been stalled for multiple months, the legislative logjam is showing a few signs of breaking after key ag groups took Capitol Hill last week to share the economy reality facing farmers and ranchers. In the letter last week to House Ag Committee Democrats, Ranking Member David Scott said, "We all know that Congress needs pressure to act. That's why Chairman Thompson, Chairwoman Stabenow, and Ranking Member Boozman and I agree that we are better off without another extension at this point." After he met with farmers, Scott said if it looks like Congress won't be able to pass a farm bill, they asked him if Congress would consider doing a 2-year package that would bolster safety nets for the 2024 and 2025 crop years. Farmers need the certainty and support, and we need to step up to the challenge, said Scott. In other news, for the third consecutive year, Mississippi River water levels are falling again, making shipping goods difficult. Low levels are forcing barge companies to put limits on how much cargo they can carry and cutting into farm profits. It was only 2 months ago that much of the river was above flood stage north of St. Louis. As river levels fell steadily since then, barge companies had to limit the soybeans, grain, and other cargo they carry to prevent barges from getting stuck, which means less profit for farmers. Approximately 60% of U.S. grain exports are taken by barge down the Mississippi to New Orleans, where the corn, soybeans, and wheat get stored and then transferred for shipment to other countries. It's an efficient way to move crops. A group of 15 barges together carries as much cargo as about 1,000 trucks. Stay tuned. We'll be back to take a look at today's weather after this.
Get ready for the 62nd Annual Farm Science Review, September 17th, 18th, and 19th. It's more than a farm show. Explore over 600 exhibitors across 2.6 million square feet, providing equipment, services, and education for farms of all types and sizes. Tickets can be purchased at participating OSU Extension offices and agribusinesses, as well as online. Visit fsr.osu.edu to buy your Farm Science Review tickets now and plan your show visit. We look forward to seeing you at the 62nd Farm Science Review, September 17th, 18th, and 19th. Time is running out for your chance to win a free TV, and all you have to do is subscribe or renew to your free subscription of Ohio's Country Journal. Subscribe or renew before September 20th, 2024, and you'll be entered for a chance to win a free TV. Subscriptions are completely free, but we must have a new request on file from subscribers every 3 years. The process is quick and easy. Visit ocj.com/renew. That's ocj.com/renew. Time is running out, so subscribe or renew today.
Now let's take a look at today's weather, brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
We've got a mix of clouds and sunshine today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at your forecast update. Watching very keenly some moisture out of the remains of Gordon trying to move through the Carolinas. Some models are continuing to try and put that moisture into southern parts of Ohio overnight tonight and into tomorrow. I'm not sure. I hope so. Let's just put it that way. But I will believe it when I see it. Why? Because we've got such a dry column of air here. I really feel that there's going to be a big batch of evaporation before that significant moisture can show up. If it does, it's going to be mostly south central, southwestern parts of the state where we could see 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch of rain. Otherwise, the rest of us are not going to see much of anything. That system dies over the top of us through Wednesday afternoon. The rest of our forecast window is fully sunny, warm, and dry. Weather systems coming in from the west die as they reach eastern parts of Illinois and Indiana, so we're not going to bring any moisture in that direction. Temperatures well above normal. I think, especially if this tropical remains, does not show up, we're going to be looking at close to the end of the month of September before our next real chance of rain. So not the best outlook for us, but keep your fingers crossed and keep your eyes to the south and southeast. We'll see whether that moisture can make it in here later today and tonight. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Well, as commodity prices fell in recent months, input costs have been slow to follow. Josh Linville, Vice President of Fertilizers for StoneX, says buying inputs is a challenge for farmers.
Farmers, of course, are struggling with low grain prices. That has been the single biggest conversation out there, is that fertilizer prices are high, but the manufacturers like, well, it was high before and they bought it. It's like, well, that's right. But corn was $4, $5, $6 a bushel. And today we're looking at something with a 3 in front of it. So the cash flow is significantly different, which is going to change how the farmer moves to the marketplace. When we look at what we expect for next year, we're still forecasting 91.5 million acres of corn for 2025. That begets a certain amount of phosphate and potash and nitrogen demand, but that does not mean they have to step in early. So that is changing things.
There are geopolitical situations that could have a significant impact on availability and the price of fertilizer in the future.
Globally, there are some things that still spook us that I know things are bad today, but they can certainly get worse. When you start to think about the Israel-Iran situation, the Russia-Ukraine situation, the China-Taiwan situation, and then you start to look at the fertilizers that are produced around these regions, I hope that this is the worst it gets, but I'm not going to make any guarantees on it.
Linville talks about what farmers may want to keep in mind as they think ahead to 2025.
A lot of people have got the mindset, I am going to wait. I'm going to wait to see if prices go down. I'm going to wait to see if grains go up. I'm going to wait to see if something jumps out as the crop to produce next year. But if I lock in stuff now, I'm locked in. I can't get away from that. So everybody is going to take this wait mentality, and that's okay. It's first half August. It's slow. It's quiet. We're a very long way from spring.
That was John Linville from StoneX. On another note, yesterday the USDA weekly crop progress report came out. Let's take a look at those numbers. The Ohio Crop Progress Report update is sponsored by AgriSpray Drones, empowering rural America through complete spray drone solutions. You can contact them at agrispraydrones.com/Arnold Precision. Starting with the national numbers, corn dented was estimated at 85%, 3 points behind last year's 88%, but 1 point ahead of the 5-year average of 84%. Corn matured was pegged at 45%, 3 points behind last year's 48%, but 7 points ahead of the 5-year average of 38%. As for its harvest progress, corn harvest moved ahead 4 percentage points last week to reach 9% complete. That is 1 point ahead of last year's 8% and 3 points ahead of the 5-year average of 6%. Its crop condition was rated at 65% of the corn was still in the field what is in good to excellent condition, back up 1 point from 64% the previous week, and above the 5-year average of 51%. Looking at soybeans dropping leaves were pegged at 44%, 3 points behind last year's 47%, but 7 points ahead of the 5-year average of 37%. For the harvest progress, estimated that 6% of the crop has been harvested, 2 points ahead of last year's 4%, and 3 points ahead of the 5-year average of 3%. As for the crop conditions, 64% of the soybeans still in the fields were in good to excellent condition, down 1 point from 65% the previous week, but still above last year's rating of 52%, good to excellent. Now looking at winter wheat planted moved ahead 8 points. That is 1 point ahead of both last year and the 5-year average of 13%. Now looking at the numbers from the Buckeye State, top soil moisture conditions were rated 92% short to very short. The average temperature was 68.4 degrees. That was 1.9 degrees above normal. Corn dented was rated at 88%. That jumped 10 points over last week, 25 points ahead of last year, and is 14 points ahead of the 5-year average. Corn matured was rated at 45% this week. That jumped 17 points over last week, and that's 26 points ahead of last year and 24 points ahead of the 5-year average. Corn harvested was pegged at 6% this week. That's up 6 points over last week and 6 points ahead of last year and 6 points ahead of the 5-year average. Corn harvested for silage was rated at 79%. That's 23 points ahead of last week and 41 points ahead of last year and 35 points ahead of the 5-year average. Soybeans dropping leaves were rated at 59%. That jumped 29 points over last week, 37 points ahead of last year, and 33 points ahead of the 5-year average. Soybeans harvested were rated at 4% complete this week. That's up 4 points over last week and 4 points ahead of the 5-year average and last year. Alfalfa hay fourth cutting was pegged at 58%. That jumped 14 points over last week and is 12 points ahead of the 5-year average. Winter wheat planted was rated at 1% complete this week, and that is 1 point ahead of last week and is even with last year and the 5-year average. As for the crop condition, corn was rated at 39% good to excellent, while soybeans were rated 40% good to excellent. Both were down from the previous week. Stay tuned. We'll be back with the grain analysis and your overnight markets after this.
In a time of tight margins when every penny counts, could you be saving more on your monthly energy bill? Ohio Farm Bureau is here to help members get competitive electric and natural gas supply prices through its energy savings program. Participants save an average of 10% on their rates. Let Ohio Farm Bureau help you take the guesswork out of energy savings. Request your free bill analysis at ofb.ag/energy program. Savings not guaranteed. Actual savings may vary.
Get the equipment and trucks you need at Ritchie Brothers' next Great Lakes Regional event on September 18th, 19th, and 20th. This absolute unreserved auction will feature online bidding. Items are located in Columbus, Chicago, and Detroit. Choose from over 6,600 items, including a wide selection of construction equipment, truck tractors, and more. Don't miss Ritchie Brothers' Great Lakes Regional event on September 18th, 19th, and 20th. For more details, visit rbauction.com. Again, that's rbauction.com.
Who wants them?
It's now time for the Louis Dreyfus Grain Analysis, and that is brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff. Here's Ryan Martin.
A down day in the markets to start off the week. Taking a look at corn, beans, and wheat, all finished lower. Let's start on the wheat side of things, where double-digit losses basically took away everything that we put on the market last week on Friday. That was a little bit disheartening. Corn followed wheat down, but only a couple of pennies at the closing bell. Soybeans were choppy. Both sides pretty much through the entire day yesterday. And honestly, that's a pretty good setup considering the NOPA crush report came out yesterday, and it was not really all that friendly. The NOPA August crush number came in at 158 million bushels, while the expectations were for 170 to 172. So that was interesting. 3-year low on the crush rate. Now, there was a lot of downtime in August, but still, that crush number was not expected. Also, yesterday, not expected, 132,000 metric tons of U.S. soybeans sold to unknown destinations for the 24-25 crop year. That was not expected because, well, first of all, China's on a holiday right now. We usually think unknown is China. And secondly, we went through all of last week with no export activity. So it came out of the blue. No one's complaining, but it was not expected. Brokers estimate that managed money funds sold 3,200 contracts of corn yesterday, 4,100 contracts of wheat, about 1,100 contracts of soybeans overall. The NOPA crush report was probably the biggest headline, but also on the wheat side, Black Sea tensions. There were big tensions. Are we going to give them weapons? Are we not? And those tensions eased a little bit, and so that's why we took off a lot of last week's gain. Crop progress is going to be the main talking point as we move through the Tuesday session. The sustained rally is going to be needing to see the harvest complete quicker than usual. We're on good pace for that right now, but we'll have to see how we finish up. That's your market recap. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Now let's take a look at your overnight markets, brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Well, nice to see a lot of green on the board in Chicago. Let's start off with December corn, 411, up a quarter. March corn, 429.5, up a quarter. November soybeans, 1005, up a half. January soybeans, 1024, up a half. December wheat, 581.5, up 3. Looking at livestock from yesterday's close, October live cattle 177.22, down 42 cents. December live cattle 178.35, down 15 cents. October lean hog 79.92, up $1.47. December lean hog 72.17, up 87 cents. October feeder cattle 239, down 12 cents, and November feeder cattle 235.57, up 37 cents. October Class 3 milk, $23.67 unchanged. If you're out harvesting today, stay safe out there, but if you're over at the Farm Science Review, make sure you stop over and see us at lot 135. Have a great day, everyone. I'm Joe Everett, and you're listening to the Ohio AgNet.